y'all. It's Linda Martin. I'm here with the Safe Struggle podcast, and this is the live stream for this week, Thursday, and I am trying something here. New roving reporter, Steve Bell, and his client, Scott Thompson, and that they're at an undisclosed training location in Missouri. Is that right?
That's right.
So, hello, Steve, and hello, Scott, and I brought you on because I need to talk to some people in the field. I'm like homebound here, and I sit in my office all day and I think about things to do. And you guys are out there doing the safety every day, going to work, in this case, in a plant atmosphere. And tonight, doing a training actually in about an hour. So I've only got a half hour with you. So um, welcome to you both. And Steve, I'm going to let you take it away and tell me what you're doing tonight for your client.
Well, first of all, we're at a major beverage company in Missouri. We don't like to talk about, actually who they are, only for their protection. Obviously, anybody can find out or Google a name, but the deal is that we have been with this client for going on 19 years almost, 19 years. Scott's the head of safety as well. I am actually safety support services, so I report to Scott pretty much. I'm an outside consultant. I'm a backup to him. And basically what we're doing tonight is Scott has brought me in, and we are doing hazard communication training. And also we're doing hazardous waste management, which is what we call the DOT Hazmat 126F training. And that basically goes over shipping of waste, handling the waste, dealing with the waste, labeling the waste. So anybody who is in the lab, in the warehouse, anybody who's in what they call maintenance or utility maintenance, any operators that are working around any kind of chemicals or waste streams, they have to have this training. And they do a really good job of that in regards to, we do it on an annual basis, and we also do it at new hire or as needed. We've also brought the state in to this facility at one time, and they've done a consultation program. And Scott's very proactive in regards to working with the government, state and local agencies. They basically will come in and do consultation and tell us what we need to do if there's any issues or we're in possible violations, and we're not at this company. So the employees, we did it last night, we're doing it tonight, we're also doing it tomorrow night, and due to COVID-19 restrictions and regulations, basically we're doing it in smaller groups. So that's been one of our biggest challenges. But one of the most important things that we're finding out, and the most exciting thing is that with the smaller groups, more people are talking, more people are asking questions. And another thing is we're finding out is that people are missing training. They're missing being in the classroom and learning and getting skills. And that's one thing this company, they have not faltered on that. They've done their required training. They broke it down in smaller groups. But we're running into a lot of companies that, are really begging for this training to come back. And this is one company that is very proactive, and they also have taken great links. When I say great links, if you can see the shield here, and I'll let Scott talk about that a little bit. But even in the training room, he has put up dividers and on tables where you've got the maximum 6 feet, 6.5 feet dividers. And I'll let him talk about that a little bit. Scott, what are some of the things that you've seen, or the tools that you've implemented, or some of the struggles that you've dealt with in regards to training and implementing it?
Well, one thing Steve talked about is we've had to condense our classes down. Yes, we're getting better retention, but it is making it a little bit harder because you're scheduling 3 times as many classes. One thing we've done here is what we've done in the same in our break rooms and in orientation areas. We've added dividers in between so we can have people sit down, but they can still be separated by a plexiglass barrier or even a plastic barrier like this. It allows us to get the training in without people worrying about the issue of COVID-19.
Mhm.
We do try to factor in everything. Uh, One thing that we have had a struggle with is obviously COVID-19 this year. It's been a challenging thing because we're all learning, even in the medical field. We have worked very closely with all the local health departments who consulted with the CDC, and that has helped us get a lot of feedback. Generally, when something's changing, we're already on the phone with the health department asking them, are you guys following this guidance? What's the word and what's going on? CDC changed guidelines a few weeks ago. Our health departments did the same thing. So we've been on the horn with them quite a bit. We've asked them, what are your thoughts on these barriers? And they'll give us their thoughts, and we'll base our thoughts off of that, and then we'll put them in. If the health department's not in favor of them, we generally don't go with that because it's not going to benefit us anyway. So we've implemented a lot of these barriers all throughout our plant. Even in office settings, we have it set up because there are some office settings that originally we would kind of have a bunch of people in there. Now we're spreading them all out, and we're also adding those barriers so that they're not going to be in close proximity or close contact of someone. Um, it's really made us think about what to do nowadays with the pandemic we've had, and it makes you kind of be on your toes.
So
Safety is living.
let me ask you this. This guy sitting next to you here, Steve. Um, I mean, the pandemic happens, and you start doing all this stuff. I mean, like, I would panic, right? I mean, I'm an academic, so I sit at home and I work from home, and but you've got employees to deal with. Was one of your first calls to Steve? Like, hey Steve, what do I do about this? Were you working in concert with Steve to figure out how to do this? Because I, I mean, you got some people here that probably are still kind of running blind on some of the things that you've already implemented.
So you are very correct. One of the first things I did is I reached out to Steve. Steve and I go back quite a few years. Steve's in multiple industries too. So one of the things I do is, without breaching anything, is I ask him, what are you seeing in other industries? Well, the company I do work for has been very proactive since the beginning of COVID-19, and we've actually been more on the uphill battle. We actually got advice through Steve to work with our local health system. So we even reached out to the local hospitals here and asked for some guidance.
Mhm.
And we actually met with the officials and went over a bunch of criteria of what we should do to better our facility to face COVID-19. Steve helped us out with that. Steve also has helped us out with doing certain things that you don't even think about. There are things that are now getting implemented because of COVID-19, and Steve has helped us get on that uphill battle. It's really nice to have a resource like him because you can reach out to him and say, we're having this issue, but we don't know how to figure it out. Do you have this issue coming up somewhere else? And if not, what's your thoughts? It's really good to just bounce it off. I always say it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you have safety resources, whether it's brand new or not, always get their feedback because you could solve a problem real quickly by getting someone else's feedback.
You're singing my song, brother. Right before we got on the air, before you came in the room, I was kind of chit chatting with Steve, and man, there's nothing like experience, number one, but there's nothing like the hive mind.
Yeah.
And by hive mind, I mean, you know, you get to those 30 years of experience, and hopefully you got and this is going to age me. Hopefully you got a Rolodex full of people. Rolodex. Hopefully you have an iPhone full of people, right? That
Right.
you can like phone a friend and start kind of gathering information, right? The last thing I think you want somebody to do, which I think a lot of consultants were really into when the pandemic thing happens. Listen, I was a consultant at one point, and the phone rings and you pick up and they go, "Can you?" And you want to go, "Yep, I can." Right? But there were a lot of people out there that the first thing they did was like, "I'm a COVID expert. I'm a pandemic expert." And you want somebody who's going to be straight up honest with you about, listen, I'm gonna get up to speed on this, but you got to be patient with me. And hopefully, I see Steve kind of nodding his head. Hopefully, that's I mean, it sounds like that was what the process was. Is the two of you working together to stay up on what you got to do, right? Because this live training it's no joke. It can't be easy.
It's not.
No.
It's not. I mean, obviously, every single table, we're going off of sanitization system, like hand sanitizer, towels, shielding. Another attribute to this company and what they did, and it was nothing that I did, was the biometric screening.
Okay.
And basically, what that entails is very, very high dollar equipment. Tell her about it. Tell her about it.
We actually kind of got the idea through airports. They have these thermal scanners that do temperature readings on people. And we had the capability of acquiring them. So at our entrances, we have two main entrances. We have these set up to where an employee goes through it, it'll read their temperature right then and there. And once it reads it, it'll tell them you have a fever. And the cool thing about it is you don't even have to know the temperature. It'll have a red box on your head and it'll pause the screen and identify the person. And if it's a green box, it's good. It was pretty quick training, and everyone got it real easy because all you did was say, if you got a green box on your head, you're good to go. If you got a red box, you need to step to the side, and then a supervisor will come over and they'll assist you. One of our processes when we come into the facilities, we screen all of our employees. And throughout the shift, if anyone's not feeling well, we have a specific area we've designated to where that employee goes to, and then they get screened again. They fail that screening, we send them on. Now we have little cards that we've made that give them instructions on what steps to do. And one of the things about that is it limits the time that they are with the people screening them. Now when they get screened, we have people wearing all this personal protective equipment. So we want to minimize that time with them as much as possible. Now one thing about Steve that we love, he's an outside contractor for us. So he's an outside source. Well, he's also helped us with screening services. Our screening services, prior to all these thermal scans, was an outside source. They had outside screeners that would come help us out, but with these thermal capabilities, it has really enhanced the business practice. And we look at it as COVID-19, even if it stops right now, we still have to think of these things for the future. And so even though we have some principles we just adopted in 2020, we're probably going to apply them from years on out.
Yeah, love that.
Contagion, and what he's talking about, of course, is the contagion and pandemic program, which, of course, as a consultant, that was the first thing that we started pushing out. Scott had already he's already been well versed in the contagion and pandemic world because him and I worked on the H1N1 program a long time ago, like most people did. But basically, we had to dust that off. But we were totally separate. He was working on other things. He already had his program in place. We sent him resources and information, but he was already way ahead of the game in regards to that. But those are key things that, as we look at 2021, is okay. This one's gone. So what's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? The H1, am I saying that right? H1N1 Am I saying that right?
I don't know. It's a bird flu, right?
And then we had
Ebola, and but I'm right there with you, both you guys. Look, if we think this is the last pandemic that we're gonna see, or that everybody's gonna get vaccinated and it's gonna go away, I mean, there are some people that are saying that, and I'm not saying that won't happen. I mean, but I think that there's always something else coming down the pipe. And so to take those restrictions off, or those controls that you put in place, I mean, if you've got the equipment and it's there, why not continue to use it as part of your everyday practice? I mean, that makes sense to me.
Let me throw another thing out, is people. This is a high volume facility. That means that your retention sometimes is a challenge. But even in COVID-19, did you feel that we retained more people in COVID-19? They wanted to work here because of all of the systems and things were put in place?
Yeah, one of the cool things is we're an essential workplace, so we have never shut down. And while other businesses had shut down, some of their employees were able to come over here and work, and that benefited even them. Yeah, it's very sad that some other places had to shut down, and we were fortunate that we were able to stay afloat. We see more positives in the people coming over. Now, you're going to get a negative one every now and then, but every company does, and we have to deal with that accordingly. But the people who work for my company have showed a lot of gratitude due to the fact that we are still in operation, because like the rest of the country and the world, there's a lot of businesses shutting down, and we've been able to stay up.
Yeah.
You don't realize how essential you are until a pandemic happens.
I mean, you don't respect overtime until it's gone,
Right.
or you don't respect your job till other people are jobless. So then it makes you really reevaluate your workplace. Another thing is with the pandemic, with other places shutting down or losing manpower, now as an employee, you have the availability to pick and choose where you want to work.
Right.
I truly believe that employees don't want to work in dirty environments. They don't want to work in an unorganized environment, in an unsafe environment. So if you're a plant manager, a CFO, or an HR person, going off of this podcast or going off of what Scott's put in place and other policies and procedures out there, you got to invest in it. And if we're not investing in it, then you're going to be behind. And I truly believe that.
So that's a really good point, right? I mean, when you start talking about the screening equipment that you purchase, right? I think employees do know that when you put a really good piece of a screening equipment in, that they're a little bit safer, makes them feel a little bit safer. One thing that comes up in my mind is, I want the red box over my face when I walk in, because it's
Am I going to get it? Am I going
to hit it, right? So there are some negatives, but to be able to come to work and feel like your employer is going to spend that money, right? To first of all, to stay in business and to to protect you. I mean, I'd be scared to go to work, especially when the pandemic's raging like now and in the spring. So, kudos to you guys for doing that. I'd love to see the piece of equipment at some point. Maybe Steve can come on, or the both of you can come on and demonstrate the equipment. I think a lot of people have heard about it. I don't know if a lot of companies have that equipment. I know there's a lot of hand temperature taking, but I'd love to see it, even if it's just a video I can attach to something like this. So run me through the drill for tonight. I mean, you're going to have how many people in that classroom?
Well, we've got it broken up, so each one's we're staying to the CDC guidelines of the total people that are coming in. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, we'll have, at max, we can have 14 in this classroom, but we generally have everybody together. Instead, we're splitting it up into multiple classes each night, and that way we can kind of spread it out. Yes, we have the capability back in the day of doing 50 plus people, but we can't do that now with everything going on. So we've condensed those classes drastically, and yes, we've spread out the classes a little bit more, but we're still trying to follow all the guidance from health department, the CDC.
So here's another thing. When you're working with a good client, first of all, and anybody that's in the safety field, this guy's busy. So getting 30 minutes of his time today is a blessing, first of all. Next
Thanks
thing
for
is,
doing this. I think he roped you into this, but okay.
I did rope him into it. I said, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. And plus, I wanted to show off the screen that Scott has purchased, because I really think as a trainer, these screens ought to be utilized. I mean, we ought to use them. They're portable, and it's very simple, very affordable. Where'd you get these at?
We bought them online. I'm not going to promote the exact website, but online we were looking for a type of barrier, and we noticed that banks were using some stuff too. We actually got some feedback from Steve on some things that are going on, that's some newer technology. And we kind of browsed around and found this. This is actually a really big thing for our HR department, where when we're doing orientation or onboarding, we have to be physically right there to point out certain things to them. We have to go over specific things, whether it's benefits or whether it's packets of information. So we put this barrier in between them, and we have the person who's in HR with a light pointer, and they're literally being able to be with them without having to deal with the close contact.
Right.
The health department did approve of it, and so we've been using it ever since. And it seems like we just keep buying more and more every week.
This would be great for if you're doing employee screening for people.
Yep.
That, so you're not up front. This is good for accident investigations where you actually have to talk to somebody. You could pop this up.
Does it make you better looking from one side to the other?
Well, of course, my side's, I'm probably better looking.
You know, I got to say something funny, right? Because I got to get somebody mad at me.
Well, going back to what I was saying, and I'm not trying to interrupt your you being funny, because I think that's funny. But what I want to talk about is pre-planning. So, Scott takes the time, and of course it's his people, but you can see this stack of paperwork. So this is all the people that we've trained in the last few days. So we're doing multiple times, and we're breaking it down. That's been a challenge. But one thing is that he's actually putting employee lists together, and then of course we have sign-in sheets and everything. So if you're going to be doing any training, that's something that we know that our safety people, we know that our HR people are struggling with. That is something, if we can get in there and we can help them, identify who needs to be trained. Scott and I communicated before that too. He clarified, who needs, who should we train. He already knew, but he was double checking on some things. Do they really need to be trained? Do we have to have them in there? And we're modifying that. So it's working together with your client to actually find out who really needs to be in there. In the old days, we want everybody in there. We want everybody to know the information. But with this is specific key training. This is authorized training that we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
So we have awareness training that we do on an annual basis, and that's coming up. They've also have, I don't know if you can see it behind it, you can, computer-based training.
Yeah.
And that's something that they're working on. They've set it up, but right now it's a challenge to get people behind a computer, correct?
Yeah, one of the big challenges is you're thinking of things now that you wouldn't have thought about in 2019. So even like this hands-on training that we're doing, you have to sanitize every pen that's used. You didn't think about that prior. Then we also got to clean off every table. Yes, we do have a computer-based system, but we also have to think about the sanitization after that.
Yep.
I mean,
Headphones,
we even have
everything.
earmuff covers for every audible device that we have. Then you got to clean the station after it's used. When we do a specialty training, like an authorized level or above, there are specific trainings where I will pull in an outside source to do the training. It looks really good to have an outside source because of the fact is they are a subject matter expert in some of these. I'm going to tell you right now, some safety professionals, and I'll admit, there are some things I know really well, and there's some things I don't know very well. And so I like to get someone who is an expert in it to come in here and do the training.
I like you already, brother. I'm with you. When you say some stuff really well and other stuff sort of, and maybe a lot of stuff a little, I think we all should be humble enough to say that. And there's a time and a place to bring in an outside source. And I'm gonna try to wrap up some takeaways here before I let you guys go, because I know you got a training coming up and you got to prepare the room and etc. But first of all, I hear pre-planning, right, and partnership, right? That's what you guys are doing in order to get your class list together. Know who needs to be trained. What 10 people are you going to put in a room at a time? What's the timing? All that kind of stuff. The second is the room setup, right? And it looks like is that permanent setup now that you got, or is it portable? Or
well, actually, it is. It can be permanent or it can be portable. We actually could bring in a few more tables, but the downside is once you start bringing in tables, you're starting to lose some proximity, and so we could maximize it by 2 more tables in this room. But we've already established we're going to keep it at this minimum of 14 people at a time. Yep. So Yes, they are portable, but we decided we're not going to go beyond the 14 people.
So you're finding advantages. So this is takeaway number 3. You're finding advantages even in the pandemic, even though this sucks and it sucks for everybody, right? That you're getting more information, more questions about the information, better training. I mean, is that what I hear you telling me, Steve? Is that
Linda, I'm going to tell you something. When you have safety training, usually you have stragglers coming in 5-10 minutes later, correct?
right?
All the sessions we did last night, they were 5 to 10 minutes early.
That's terrific.
We had to kick people out. Hey, whoa, we're not done yet. We're almost done. All of our training sessions were on time. Every single person showed up except for one person who was on vacation. The feedback that we were getting, man, we missed this training. Can it last longer? Can it last longer? No, we can't do it longer. We don't want it where you're going to get the information, you're going to take a test, everything's sanitized, this and that and the other. But
Man, what's your
the
secret?
feedback was awesome.
What's your secret sauce? Because there ain't nobody that has ever asked me to talk longer. So I am proud of you, Mr. Bell.
Well, I appreciate it. I think it's the secret sauce is us working together. The secret sauce is passion. Okay, they see him on the floor. They see me on the floor. They see him train. They see me train. They know that if I'm training, he's validated me. I've validated him. We're working as a team. But it really goes back to Scott, working with his people as a real safety guy. I use that a lot. He's a real safety guy. Just like he says, if he doesn't know something, he's not going to BS you. And his people know that. And we've been through a lot of training sessions here together. Another thing is that these employees, we've sold it as skills. They get skills. Yeah, we know it's basic information, but this is the skill that's going to keep you safe, and then share it. Another thing is, and Scott did it today, how long do you spend a lot of time on new hire presentations? Anybody could do new hire presentations, but he actually takes the time to go and do the new hire presentations. That's important because he's up there standing there saying, this is important to me, it's important to management, and I want it. And it also gives them a face to him. And then, of course, they see me on special projects or when he calls me and working with them. So I think that's the secret sauce, is working with the people. Boots on the ground.
What was that?
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground, baby.
Boots on the ground, working it and being out there and being seen. He's got a lot of paperwork. We got a lot of paperwork to do.
Yep.
We have to take the time to work with the people to make sure they know that we care. Without them, there is no us.
Yeah. And this stuff here that you guys are doing, this shows that you care. The screening shows that you care. The thought process behind not jamming, even though you can put 14 people in the room, you're putting 10. Even though you need 6 feet, you're doing 6.5. You're buying the best barriers. You're looking for the best solutions. You're contacting the right people that can tell you yes or no, that's a good idea. Those are doing all the right things. And so, again, we're at a half hour, and I'm trying to be respectful of you guys' time. I appreciate you hauling Steve in, because this has been fantastic to see the relationship between consultant and the person who hires the consultant, right? Both being very skilled safety professionals, but serving a role and serving each other in what you're doing, which tonight is training. Steve, thanks for doing this on a very short notice. I would hope that you'd want to come back as a roving reporter in other capacities.
Absolutely.
I am going to leave this up on my LinkedIn page, and I'll probably tag you in it. I don't know if we're connected, Steve, but I'll try to connect to you.
We're connected.
All right. I'll tag you guys. And if people who are listening to this, if anybody listened, I'm kind of watching the chat, and there are some people listening, but there may be some people who listen later.
Right.
And
Our meeting's going on.
If they've, yeah, it's Thirsty Thursday, right? I mean, and they're at home. but or snowed in here in the Northeast.
Wow.
But
I
if
didn't
they've
even
got
think of that.
questions later and they want to talk to you about barriers or they want to contact you, they're going to be able to do it here through the show. And I just, if you would just introduce yourselves again separately so that people know who you are, give a little bit about your experience level. And I know, Steve, you can tell us about your company because you're a consultant, and we'll leave you as undisclosed, Steve, Scott.
Um, First, I want to thank Scott, one, for being a valid client and also a really good friend. I mean, we've grown together in the safety world. I rely on him just as much as he relies on me because he's working in this industry that he's in is many, many years of experience, pretty much compared to most. And he has dealt with a lot of incidents and he's handled himself. He's a top-notch safety guy. Our company, my company basically is Employers Health and Safety. We call it EHS. That's what everybody pretty much knows us for. We have 42 clients. They've been with us for 19 years, just like Scott has. We're not a consulting company that goes out and tries to get every single client. We build a relationship. It's helped us pay our bills, and we provide backup services to safety managers, HR people, to companies. We're in the background. We are a resource. That's what we do. And we'll even take the fall for you if we get on TV. You know what I mean? If we get on TV, I'll even, hey, it's me. I'm the one that's in charge. And we've done
Look
that
over
before.
here. Look over here.
It's a
Don't look
running
at
joke
him.
with Scott and I. But it's we basically are in the background. We provide anything. If you've already got all your programs set up, we basically take that information and we go out and we polish it. If you've got gaps, gap filling projects, here at this facility, we do a lot of lockout, tagout procedures, JHAs, confined space entry reviews, and then also we have air sampling, air monitoring, mold sampling. And we know it. We don't know it all, but we know where to get the answers from, and that's been our secret sauce. Or that's our secret
Awesome.
sauce. Is that if we don't know what we're doing, then we're going to find someone who does. And we like aligning ourselves with those individuals who are vetted, who are loyal and honest,
Yeah.
have their own insurance, have their own tax identification number,
Yeah.
because that shows that they've
And
got
have a little bit of humility. How about a little bit of humility in this industry?
Oh, there's a lot of that. We're not perfect. Anybody that says that they're the best safety person in the world or they've got the best program, you know, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, you just open yourself up. So I just want to thank you both for coming on the Safety Struggle live stream. You know, I am thrilled that I got a twofer tonight, and I hope your training is COVID free, and people love it, and they ask you to talk longer because, like I said, it's never happened to me. But thank you so much. Namaste for your time. I appreciate it.
All right.
And everybody else, thanks for listening.
Thank you.